Hey y'all, this is my second time trying this. The first time I didn't get any sound, so we're going to try again. I'm going to attempt to show you how to make just very basic teasers or ads for your books using Pixlr. And I'm not overly familiar with Pixlr. I've only played with it a couple of times, but it seems to be very similar to Photoshop. So it's easy enough, I guess, if you know what you're looking for or how to use it. This is the home screen for Pixlr. It does offer 3 different forms. I have not played with Pixlr Express or Pixlr-O-Matic. Those two appear to be more or less for mobile devices than actual computer use. I'm sure you can use them either way, but the other two appear, oops, hold on, I got a plug in here, appear to be for cell phones and mobile devices. So we are going to use just the Pixlr editor today, and bear with me, I'm going to plug in real quick before my computer dies. There she be. All right, so we're just going to click on Pixlr editor, and this little window comes up. Usually you already have saved versions of your book covers, whatever else you intend on using, background images at times. So most of the time they're going to be already saved on your computer. If you have them saved elsewhere, this does give you a couple of different options, but I'm just going to use something off of my computer here, and I'm going to go ahead and just do something with my own book. Now this does open every single image in its own little window, which honestly isn't that convenient, because as soon as I open another image here, and let me go in and get a background, hold on just a sec here. Background. I'm just going to use some smoke. All right, see, they overlap, and I'm sure you can resize them and everything, but that's just kind of a pain. So we're going to go over here to my book cover, and I'm going to select all. And if you're wanting to use hotkeys, Control A on a PC is how you do that. I am not even going to attempt to tell you how you do it on a Mac. I am not familiar with Macs all that well. So hopefully you know what the key process is. I think it's fairly similar, except you guys don't have a control button. It's whatever the main select option is on your guys' device. Anyway, so we're going to do a Control A, or you can just go up to Edit and do a select that way. Select all right there. I'm just going to do my hotkeys. And then we're going to do Control C for copy. And we're going to go over here. This is going to be our main background. So we're going to make that our main image. And I'm just going to do a Control V to paste. Now, if you wanted to resize this layer, make sure you are on the correct layer over in your layers box over here. And then I'm just going to go to Edit, Free Transform. See, it says that you can hit Control T to pull that up, but when I try to do Control T, it just opens a new tab on my web browser. So that doesn't really work, which is okay. It's just as easy to go up to Edit and then click on Free Transform. And you can see it brings up the box. Now, if you just click and drag on a corner, it's going to distort the shape. So if you want to keep the exact same shape and just make it smaller, hold down your Shift button and it fixes that for you. You can change the size that way. Okay. Now, if you are comfortable with the shape, then just hit Enter or Return, whatever is on yours. And then click on your little arrow over there you can kind of click and drag that layer wherever you want. And like I said, make sure you are on the correct layer in your layers box, because if you try to do that on the wrong layer, let me show you here, then it's gonna do the background rather than the main box. Now in this, you can see that the background is actually behind the layer behind the background is white, and that is because hold on, let's get out of that. That's because your background layer is locked. If you unlock that just by double clicking and then try it again, it's going to show you the little checkered pattern, and that does mean that that background is transparent. So when you save this, you will need to make sure you save it as a PNG file. Otherwise, that white will be put right back in there. But if you save it as a PNG, there will be absolutely nothing in that background, and you can place that image on any background, and it will show whatever color the background is, just because there's nothing actually there. All right, we're going to undo that. If you make a mistake and you want to undo, or you make a change and you don't like it, you can hit Control Z and it undoes your last move. You can continue to hit Control Z to do several undo options. Your little history box down here shows you how many you have. I believe with Pixlr, it saves so many motions, so don't make too many changes and then expect to backtrack like 20 steps, because I don't think it keeps that many. Okay, so I'm fairly set. Oops, see? Go over to your layer. I think I'm okay with where that's located. I'm going to go ahead and put on some text. I have heard some people complain about the font selection that Pixlr offers. And from my experience, if the font selection in Pixlr is crappy, it's not Pixlr's fault. From what I can tell you, Pixlr automatically pulls fonts from your computer. So as you can see, I have several options, and these are the ones that I have installed on my computer, the ones that I've downloaded myself and installed. So if you have a crappy selection on Pixlr, look into getting more fonts installed on your computer, and that'll take care of that issue. I'm going to go ahead and just pick a random font here. Let's do, I don't want Voluta. That one's kind of scripty. See, and this moves really fast, so I have a hard time getting what I want. There, I think I'm going to do that Valentina if I can get up there. That one. Okay. And it does make you put your text in the text box, which is annoying to me, but it's just personal preference, really. I think you can get used to it. One of the #1 issues with Pixlr when it comes to the text box is it does not automatically enter down to the next line at the end of the box. It just continues to put text. I'm just going to put a whole bunch of gibberish in here, and we will make it larger gibberish, and we're going to put it in a color that you can see. We'll just go with white and center, and you can see at the end of the screen it just kind of falls off. So you would have to enter it down yourself to do the same thing on the screen. So let's put some real text in here. Doesn't know what she is. Okay, so that does fit. That is the largest that Pixlr will take the font. If I wanted it like that, I could do it like that. Hit OK. And then you get your little arrow and you can move the font. Now, a cool little feature, and this is, like I said, very similar to Photoshop, this little button over on your layers adds layer styles. So if you wanted to do a drop shadow on your font, you can. And you can see that one drops it pretty far. I'm gonna nix the distance and raise the size and the opacity just to kind of give it a little darker background behind the text. Okay, now you can't really see it, so let's do it on the cover as well, because this little corner down here kind of blends in. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to do the drop shadow, but I'm going to turn it, you know, let's do a color that's out of the image itself. And I kind of like this bluish gray out of the background. Now, as soon as your cursor leaves this window, your eyedropper pops up, and you can select from any point on your entire image, not just the layer. So if I wanted this one, I can pull from the background. If I wanted something off of the actual book cover, I can do it there too. It's considered one layer, I guess, when you're doing the color selection. So let's try that one. Okay, now you can see that it's still at this angled drop shadow. There's absolutely no blur on that whatsoever. So we're going to kill the distance again, increase the size. The size is what adds the fuzz. And if you wanted it darker, you increase the opacity. If you want it lighter, you can decrease the opacity. And that actually makes it more transparent, easier to see through, which is why it's lighter or darker. I'm going to go ahead and increase it all the way. And I kind of like that size. We'll just hit OK. Now, like specifically for the font, if you wanted to do other features with the font, it does allow you to do an inner shadow, which colors the actual text on the inside. You can do a bevel, which makes it look like it's kind of popping up off the screen there a little bit. Or you could do an outer glow, which is on the outside of the font, but it's kind of fuzzy and glowy and just kind of fun. I'm not going to tell you where to put your adjustments on each particular item there, because it's going to differ with each font, with each size of the font, and can be more or less obvious depending on the type of background that you have as well. So you're just going to have to kind of play with it. The angle does change. Like on this one, if I wanted to do the distance, here, we'll minimize this so you can see the drop shadow. If I wanted to change the distance of the drop shadow, I can also change the angle of where it shows up behind. You can see that moving around. I personally don't necessarily want anything like that. There we go. Just fun little things. You can do the same thing with your book cover, but a lot of those are better off with just the font, not the cover itself. If you happen to have like retail logos, I actually have a few, so I'll just pull up one or two here. Okay. And where did the rest of my, it's because they're enlarged. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and close out this. There we go. Okay, so select all, copy, and we're just going to drop them. One of the other downfalls to Pixlr is it does not have like rulers or guidelines to show you where on the image you're putting things. Like if you wanted to get these exactly lined up, Photoshop offers it. Pixlr apparently does not. Well, and I can't say that they don't. It's possible that maybe they do, and you just have to pull them up somewhere, you know. Tool options, I'm not really sure if they do have that option, but it could be in there somewhere. You just have to look for it probably. But you just get as close as you can. It's really not going to matter that much unless you're a perfectionist. That pretty much finishes off the basics of it. You can play around with some of the filters or the adjustments. You know, you can blur like the background. That just does a basic blur. Most often do the Gaussian blur. It has the most obvious effect. You can increase that to, you know, that amount of blur really makes the background, or not the background, excuse me, the book cover pop, but it also gets rid of the cool texture of the background. But you just play around with it. There's that option. There are so many different options. You would just have to kind of play with it. The vignette is something that darkens just the edges. Here, see, like that. And that's kind of a cool effect. You just kind of play with them. But it's pretty basic, and the only way that you're really going to learn what you're doing is just to go in and play. But that is the essential basics to building a quick, easy teaser or ad for your book. Oh, one other thing I meant to show you. If you want to rotate, and if some of you other people who have maybe possibly used this before may know a faster way of doing this, but if you click on the layer that you want to rotate, I'm going to do the book cover, and you go to that free transform again, you'll see that your cursor turns from your normal arrow to what looks like a counterclockwise rotating arrow, and that allows you to rotate your image. Now, if you rotate and part of it falls off like this and you okay it, it's going to crop that little bit of your image. So you can undo and go back into that free transform. Just move your image over before you rotate and make sure that all of the corners are in before you approve, and then you can move it over. But that way it's not cutting anything off. All right, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can contact me on Facebook for the fastest response time. You can find me at facebook.com/no-sweat-graphics, all one word. Or you can visit my website and contact me through there at www.nosweatgraphics.weebly.com. Thanks so much.